Hello, everybody. Tracy Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president at JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures Podcast, sponsored by the JDog Foundation. Our podcast gives veterans, male spouses, active military members, military family members, and patriotic military supporters a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're affecting their communities post-service, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has helped them in their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I am so excited to be speaking with Dakota Myers, who is a distinguished United States Marine recognized for his valor in the war in Afghanistan. His exceptional courage during the Battle of Ganjgal on September 8, 2009, in Kunar province led to him being awarded the prestigious Medal of Honor. Remarkably, Meyer is the second youngest living recipient of the Medal of Honor, the third living recipient from either the Iraq War or the war in Afghanistan, and notably, the first living United States Marine in 38 years to receive this esteemed honor. In addition to the Medal of Honor, Dakota Meyer has been decorated with the Purple Heart Medal, Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal with Combat V Device for Valor, and 2 Combat Action Ribbons. Since leaving active duty, Dakota has embraced diverse roles in society. He has continued his service by becoming a firefighter and EMT, the entrepreneur behind Own the Dash and Dash Hydrate, a highly sought after keynote speaker, and the author of 2 New York Times best-selling books. Perhaps most importantly, Dakota is the father of 2 beautiful daughters. Hello, Dakota. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me, and thank you so much for your amazing service to our country, sir.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited for our discussion today. A lot to talk about. And you and I have met before virtually. We've never met in person, but I don't know if you remember presenting my husband and I virtually with
Yep.
this Hiring Our Heroes Capital One Small Business Award. This was
During
in
COVID,
November 18th,
during COVID.
2020.
Yep, I
Dear,
remember it. Yeah, absolutely. I do. I remember when you said, yeah, it's the only award I've ever presented virtually.
I know that was absolutely crazy. We came here and we were all dressed up with no place to go because of COVID. Yeah, we have that award. It's displayed prominently in our office here at JDog, but that's where we first met. That was quite a time, was it?
Yeah, what a time. What a time. Isn't
Yeah,
it crazy that we can even sit here and now virtually talk to each other without mask on? It's kind of
I
nuts.
know,
I mean,
really.
I'm having a birthday party for my daughter on uh on Sunday, and I always just think about, when these kids are blowing out their candles and then we're going to cut it up and eat it. Like, I couldn't imagine doing that. 2020, we never thought we would see that again.
Right, really. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it certainly changed the way we do a lot of things, right? Oh, well. So before we get into our discussion, I would like to know what inspired you to join the Marine Corps.
I think that life has a way of putting opportunities in front of you and putting you where you're supposed to be. I think you're always where you're supposed to be, but I think it's something that you have to figure out why you're there. And so for me, I mean, I was just walking through my lunchroom. I never knew anything about the military, never thought about it or anything like that. And it was just a coincidence that day that there was a Marine recruiter there, and he placed this seed of you know, in my mind of becoming a United States Marine. And, that was the history of that. I don't have this cool story of waking up and, dreaming of being a Marine or serving in the military or even understanding what it was before I had even joined. I don't think I even really had an understanding of what the Marine Corps was until I was there. Much less the appreciation or understanding of what serving and that meant to the community and the greater good, even later on in life. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it was just a really a coincidence that, 2 people met in a room, and one provided an opportunity for me to come and to be part of such a great organization.
Yeah, that's I believe you're correct. You never know what path is going to come your way. And sometimes just by faith you walk down the path and and it leads to something great. I love that. Um Is there a particular aspect or moment from your service that stood out as impactful in a positive way for you?
There's so many. Understanding people. The military. I talk about this a lot. Is the military is nothing more than. I mean, it's a group of people from all across the world that are self-selected people that are willing to do something for the cause of the greater good. It's just we're just civilians. We're civilians that chose to act upon these ideas of of our world, right? Of our country.
Right.
And I mean, there's just meeting the people. It's not. I mean, first off, you got paid. I mean, I was 17. I got paid. I got the opportunity to wear the nation's cloth. The most respected uniform across the globe. I got to be part of that. Like
Right.
America allowed me to represent it across the globe. I got to wear the American flag, the beacon of hope for the globe. I got to wear it on my shoulder. America allowed me to do that. Um, so I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, all the way starting in boot camp, going through boot camp and, meeting guys that you're serving with and these different people. I grew up in a small town in Columbia, Kentucky. And so diversity was not something that was around. You know what I mean? I mean, I grew up in a small town, you knew what you knew. Right. And, it was small town, I always say small town, small thinking. Right. And, leaving that and the culture shock of going in and understanding and learning about people, like where they grew up and how they grew up, and that the world was so different everywhere else, but being able to come together for a common cause, and going through shared suffering, and those obstacles, where there's obstacles, there's opportunities for forging relationships and growth and strength. Right? Nothing gets stronger in easy times. Everything gets stronger in hard times, all the way down to physically, mentally, and emotionally, and for us as individuals. And so that's why, like, the Marine Corps boot camp is such a display of how to forge people together and create unity, because that's what they do, and all the branches do that serve. And um, I when I think about, I just think about the impact across that we had, all the way from me being able to be a leader, the impact that leaders had on me, the impact that I was able to have, and the opportunity that I was able to have on the people that I was entrusted to lead. There's just so many opportunities of that. Um, it's really about people, is what it comes down to. And I wish I could give you like a single amazing story. I mean, but there's just so many, right? And if I
Right.
look at the Marines that I was entrusted in serving. But what I'll tell you is all the memories that I think of, it's not the times that we went to the bar and we had a good time. The times that I miss and think about the most are the hard times, right? You look
Mm.
at sniper school, going through, and the patrols in sniper school, the hell week, the instructors, it's the people that challenged me, and it's the hard times that made the best times for all of us. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it sounds like your whole experience was really impactful in good times and bad times, and in a positive way for you. And I think that's awesome. Um, so after you got out and transitioned out, you became an EMT firefighter. Are you still at that capacity at the moment?
Yeah, I actually am. And so, but I didn't become that. So I got, as soon as I got out, I got out, and I was out for a couple years before I ever received the Medal of Honor.
Oh,
I
right.
worked for some contracting companies. I didn't know I was in for the Medal of Honor, right? I thought I got out, and that, that my time was over, and that was it. Right. And, came back, and I was struggling a lot, with just, I, you know, we've tried to wrap up this anxiety, PTSD, and depression as being something unique to the military, but it's not. It's in all of our homes right now. All of us that are walking the face of the planet, people are struggling, right? And it's not unique. The worst day of my life is no more significant than the worst day of your life. It's just the worst days of our life. And I came back and was struggling with that a lot, and finally got myself back to a point in 2020, to where I kind of took back control of my life. And 2020 kicked in, and I watched the stress of just what that put on the system, and I believe, like, when you talk service members, like, obviously the military gets all the glory, but you just got the home team and the away team, right? The military is the away team, and the home team are our first responders, the men and women who put the uniform on here every single day amongst us and go out
Hmm.
and for the greater good. And they're our home team. And so, I think we take that for granted a lot. And I watched the stress on the system, and I'm like, I got to do something. Everything slowed down. I wasn't traveling a lot, and I'm like, I got to do something. It's my time to. The country's given me so much since being out of the military that I've got to give back. And I went to the fire academy. I turned around, went to EMT school. I became a commissioned firefighter in the state of Texas, and I jumped on an ambulance and a fire truck and started helping serve every chance that I could. And I still serve today, right? I'm still a captain at a department here in my area, and then I work as a part-time guy. Still get on a rig every once in a while to go ahead and maintain that currency, and just to give back to my community, and to be amongst such people that are so great. And so, yeah, I mean, that's I still do that. I still do a ton of public speaking, and I believe in the greater good, and I believe in people, and the only way to impact the greater good is by serving people.
Yeah. Yeah. I spent 9 years on an ambulance too. I'm
Yeah,
an EMT.
yeah,
And
so
I have to tell you that that has been one of the most rewarding times in my life,
yeah.
when I did that. I just met some and worked alongside of some incredible people who just really cared about people and wanted to make a difference, and but you see some stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's but it was great. It was a great time in my life.
yeah, I watch these people, just I watch. I always feel so terrible, like when people call me a hero, because I watch these heroes that live and walk amongst us, and they get no recognition, and I watch them literally change people's lives. I watch them save people's lives on a weekly basis. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm telling you, this is how incredible these people are. And they do it,
Yes.
and it's the norm for them. And what the difference is here versus when I was overseas, and why it's so, I think, really so impactful to me here, is because I watch these people save people, and it's the humanization piece of it. Of
Hmm.
They're saving them in their homes, they're saving them in their cars, their everyday life, and, like, it's not only they're saving this person, but they're saving this father, they're saving this husband, this wife, they're saving this daughter, this son. I mean, they're saving these people, and they do it, and they get no recognition for it, and they don't ask for it, and they don't
True.
care, and they are so humble,
Hmm.
and they do it. They don't get paid enough. It impacts their lives over and over. And when everybody else is scared and everybody else is nervous and everybody else has ran out of their options to be able to fix the problem, they pick up and they are able to dial three numbers. I mean, think about this, how great of a country we live in. They're able to
Right.
dial
Yeah.
three numbers, and nobody's showing up and asking them why they did this, how they got there, what caused it, why they're there. They're just there to make it better. And that is how incredible these human beings that live amongst us every single day.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. Um, Great words. Great words.
And I
But
seen them and I
great
wanted to be part of them,
facts.
right? And that's why, like, I joined it. Right?
Yeah.
Like the best compliment that you can give somebody is emulation, right? And I
Hmm.
show up, and I'm always just so thankful to
Yeah.
spend any time I get to around them, and how much they just love their communities.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, being a woman on a rig and driving an ambulance was definitely very different. And this is back in the late '80s, early '90s, So it was kind of, breaking into that kind of a man's world. But I was so excited and felt so privileged to be a part of it and to learn from you know paramedics that were around me and just did amazing things, and just gave of themselves. I mean, waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning and jumping in cars and getting to the rig and driving out to a house where somebody's in trouble.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, it's
and what's crazy is that, people think that, like, there's just this we just have this knowledge of how to fix everything. And we're just people just like them. We have,
right.
you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, we're no different than them. We're trained a little bit we have training, right? But we don't
right.
have training for most of the time. We don't know what we're showing up to. We don't have training on every
No.
single scenario. It's creative, and it's about people believing that they can make a difference. And it's about using the tools that they have to change and fix the trajectory of the problem that's going on. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, like, watching these medics, like, paramedics are literally doctors of the streets. I don't
Yes, they are.
I would argue with anybody that there's not a single person in healthcare that has the biggest ability to change the trajectory of somebody's life more than a
Hmm.
paramedic. They are the I mean, doctors are operating inside of controlled environments with staff,
Sure.
inside of, like, where everything is. I mean, I watch these medics climb into cars in the middle of the night after just getting woke up, having no clue what's going on, showing up, climbing inside of a car, doing whatever needs to be done to keep this person alive in a non-sterile environment while things are getting cut off, while they're I mean, it is absolutely insane, the chaos that these human beings are willing to
Mhm.
do it, and, like, hey, and they stay so calm. Like, they are just like, it is paramedics are are you talk about angels of our world. Paramedics are angels.
Yeah, yeah, they're amazing. I actually went to paramedic school. I didn't finish my clinicals though because my job at the time
Yeah.
got in the way. And then I had a job. I was a cardiac cath tech, and I worked at Hahnemann Hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I didn't get to finish, but kind of a very rewarding, exciting time in my life doing that. I've climbed through a couple cars. I was always the smallest one
Yeah.
that was able to get inside that back seat, you know. So yeah, and you just do it. You know, you don't there's no second guessing when you're in that situation. You've answered a call and you don't really think. You're just like, okay, I this is what I got to do. And you just do it. And you don't look back and you just do it. And they just do it. Your whole team, it's just, and, thank God that we live in a country where, we have great men and women on the streets answering these calls. And again, like you said, saving the lives of complete strangers, but changing the trajectory of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I always
It's
when I
just
think of,
amazing.
I always think of the Bible verse, Isaiah 6:8, when it's like, when you talk about our first responders, service members too, but for sure first responders, right? Like, um, where it comes down, it talks about, the Lord asks, like, who shall I send? And they say, send me, right? I
Right.
mean, it's like, you
Right.
talk about the epitome of, and these people, they don't make a lot. They don't do it for the money. They
Mm-mm.
don't do it because it's an easy way of life. They don't do it
Right.
because, I mean, they do it because they believe in the greater good and the impact of people. And it's I always talk about, people ask me, especially when I served or when I was in the battle, they ask, like, well, were you scared? Like, how do you overcome fear? You don't overcome fear, right? Like, fear is natural.
Mm-mm.
Like everybody's scared.
Yeah.
Everybody's scared. Everybody is scared. But your sheer willingness to be able to push through that fear is truly anchored in how much you believe in your cause.
Hmm. Yeah. And I've always heard that, the best thing you can do is take that fear and turn it into action.
Absolutely.
Use it. Use
Yeah.
it, right? Um, This has been great. You took me back, Dakota.
Yeah, just
I love it.
reminiscing on the nostalgic.
Um, okay,
Hello, viewers
so
and listeners. I would like to introduce you to the JDog Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the prevention of veteran suicide and the healing of veterans' mental health. 100% of all proceeds received by the JDog Foundation goes directly to several foundations focused on the mission of saving veterans' lives. Each partner is hand-selected by our executive director, Jerry Flanagan, with input from the assistant director, Tracy Flanagan, and the JDog Foundation board members. Our foundation's motto: saving lives, one veteran at a time. Go to jdogfoundation.org to take a look at everything that we're doing there and the organizations that we're partnered with. You can also donate, and there's also a support line if you're in need of help. Thanks. Check us out. jdogfoundation.org.
you've written 2 books. What has inspired you to become
You
an
know,
author?
the only way that our stories matter is if they're told. And so, in my first book, Into the Fire, it was about telling the story about my teammates. It was about the heroism that those men did, and to make sure that their legacy lives on, so that whenever I don't have air in my lungs and I can't tell it anymore, that the story can be told forever, so that people can look up to it and can live up to
Mhm.
what those men and women that I've served with have done. The second book was kind of the same thing, right? It was about just less stories uh, of of just about life, like how we kind of dealt with it. Me and Rob together, Rob O'Neill killed Bin Laden, an incredible guy, incredible operator. I mean, he was on the
Mhm.
Captain Phillips rescue. Jessica Lynch. I mean, you go down all these Marcus Luttrell. I mean, he was on all these, right? And an operator, and being able to tell those stories so that they live on, because here's the deal, right? Like, everything in the world is about legacy, and it's not about my legacy. It's about the legacies that I have seen and the people that I've seen, who have I've watched a lot of people give their lives for a greater cause. And so to be able to tell those stories and pass them on, because it's one thing for people to do and live a legacy and live a story worth telling, but then somebody has to tell it. Because that is the bar for the next generation. That's why legacy is important. That's why honor is important,
Mhm.
because if we don't set the bar, the next generation has nothing to live up to. So we got to set it high,
Right.
because we need to keep getting better. And so, that's why I wrote my first 2 books. And then I just came out with my last book, my third book. It's called Why to What. And it's basically the blueprint. It's a simple, comprehensive book that basically how I took myself from being the victim, PTSD, depression, anxiety, not thinking that I could even run a mile, all the way to where I'm at today of a firefighter, an active dad, all these things, of an entrepreneur, and living, really taking back control of my life and living a life that's worthy of the sacrifices that my teammates gave.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had written a third book. That's great. I love it. Um, so I want to talk about what you're doing now. So
Mhm.
Dash Strategies. I've looked
Yeah.
at your website. I love it. And I love the whole thing where there's two
Yeah.
dates on your tombstone, you know? So I think it's really neat. So I'd love for you to talk about what Own the Dash is all about.
Own the Dash came about probably in, I think, 2017. And it was really like a point in my life to where, like, not only did I lose a ton of people, a lot of people in combat, I lost a lot of people to suicide. I've lost, a lot of people in the fire service, right? I mean, like, not firefighters, but as far as like, going on scenes and calls. And there was really just a point in my life to where I had to make sense of it, right? Like, I had to make sense of it. I believe that, too often we wrap, you know, we wrap the word good in it with an emotion. We wrap the word love as an emotion. We wrap all these things in emotions, and really they're choices, right? And so I had to really find something to anchor that in. And so Own the Dash came
Mm,
from that. I read a poem of a woman. Her name is Linda Ellis, and she wrote this poem. I'm going to read it to you. It's such a good poem. Let me pull it up here, okay? And so she read. It kind of hit me, and she said, it's called The Dash. She said, I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what matters most of all was the dash between those years. For the dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth. And now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. And so for me, it really simplified things to me that, own the dash comes from own your life. So often we
Yeah.
never live a life for the fear of ethics, but really because of two things that don't matter, right? Number one is everybody's scared to die, and none of us are getting out of this thing alive. So we waste our dash
Right.
worrying about the thing we have no control of. Then on top of it, we're
Mhm.
spending our time thinking that money's going to be what fulfills us, or that power, or that getting that next promotion, or all, and it really, none of that ever does. It is a bottomless pit of nothing. And so really the dash is about impacting people. Every day we don't get to decide how long our dash is, but we get to decide how people remember our dash. We are writing our eulogy. And I don't know about you, I've been to a lot of funerals. I never hear anybody talk about how much money somebody has. I never hear anybody talk about how many cars or how big their house is or the jobs that they held. You hear people get up there and talk about the impact that they made on them in critical moments. And that's what life is about. And so for me, I've built this whole brand of owning the dash, like own your life. Who cares what people think about you? You spend your whole life worrying about what people think about you. And 90 days after you die, none of them will even speak your name again. You're lucky if they remember that when you died 2 years after you passed away. Life goes on. I have this phrase of, we've got to go back to being unconditional people in a conditional world. We've got to be unconditionally good to people. We've got to take care of people. We've got to stop as human beings, stop walking past problems that we can fix, assuming or thinking that somebody else is going to fix it. Let's start fixing it. Let's start helping people. Let's start doing good. And like, we've got to push that. And so that's what everything's about. I own a company called Dash Hydrate, which is a hydration company. It's and when you look at it, it's called Dash Hydrate. Really, it's Life Hydrate. You know what I mean? And Dash Strategies is a consulting company to
Right.
where we go in and we help fix culture. I go back to businesses and I talk to these businesses that, hey, if you're not reaching and getting the goals done and achieving where you want to be, or you're having a culture problem, it's because your priorities are off. If you put people first, leadership today in 2024, it's not this structure that it was a long time ago. It's got, you got to be perfect. You got to be this. You got to know
Right.
it all. No, it's not. Today, it's about peopleship. It's about taking care of people. And if you take care of people and you focus on your people, the people will execute on what needs to be executed on. That is the reality of it.
That's right. I love that. I love the mantra about own the dash, because that's really the truth. Um, and I'll just share with you my stepfather, but he raised me since I was 5, so he's my dad. Um, he was the most amazing man in that he was all about kindness to everybody, complete strangers, and just he'd give you the shirt off his back if he could. He left such a legacy. And his funeral, over
Wow.
350 people showed up for his funeral, where the church was scrambling to set up chairs so that people could
Yeah.
come in to the sanctuary. And these were people that in some way, somehow, and my father was a financial planner. So he had his own business. He was an entrepreneur. My sister and I worked for him in his office. He touched so many lives. I, I,
Mhm.
the legacy that he left, it was mind boggling. I mean,
his wife, my mother, and we were all of his kids, we were blown away to see these people
Yeah.
just filing past, you know, just paying
And think about
respects,
it.
people that we didn't even know, that just said, I met him here and he was a great guy. He did this, or he said this to me, or this is what this meant. It was just, I was like, wow. And that lends itself to exactly what you're saying. We need to live in such a way, not to have that kind of a funeral. That's not it. But how can we as human beings affect people's
Yeah, I
lives in
mean,
positive ways? That's what we're meant to do down here, right?
I talk about this a lot, is the most detrimental word to you reaching your potential and impact on people and just in life, your success, is the word deserve. The word deserve is the most toxic, detrimental word, thought process for people to put into their vocabulary. I can't stand it when I hear people say, well, I deserve this. Look, I agree that all of us probably worthy of more than we get a lot of the times. But I tell people, I'm like, the deserve is you want what you deserve. Like you want the deserve that you want. But how you do everything, you don't, it's not conditional. It's not, oh well here I'll take it, but here I don't want to take it, right? If you always got what you deserved, if every time you went over the speed limit, you got a speeding ticket, if every time you texted when you drove, you got a speeding ticket, if every
Right.
time you cheated or cut that corner, you got the results of not doing it the right way, if every time you didn't tell the truth or you lied or you hid that one thing or all this, if all of us always got what we deserved 100% in life, none of us would be where we're at. And so the
True.
reality is we've got to stop being conditional and we've got to stop using the filter of deserve, because none of us want what we truly deserve. And we should all be thankful
Sure.
that we don't always get what we deserve. And
Hmm.
so we should also not put it through other people. Like, for me, and I learned this with my daughters. I think if you truly want to be a leader, if you can't lead your kids, you'll never be able to lead anybody. I believe that, right? People can use their excuses, they can use whatever, right? But I don't care. Like, if you can't lead your kids, you can't lead anybody. And what I'll say is, with my daughters, my daughters came in, the problem with people today is they all will tell you what they don't like and what they're not going to do and what they don't enjoy and what they don't like about things. But if you turn around and look at people and say, well, what do you like and what are you looking for in life and what are you trying to achieve in life? Most can't tell you. So they're all out there missing a target that they don't even know what they're trying to hit. And so with my
Sure.
daughters, I talk about this in my new book, Why to What, is it's the box method. And, so for my daughters, they ask, my daughter came home one day and she was like, Leo, because deserve is it's also, it's also context driven, right? It's also like from what side you stand on. It's like murder and self defense. It just depends on which side of the fence you're sitting on, right? And so
Right.
for my daughters, they came in. This kid had told my daughter she was ugly, and to my daughter that was a big deal. It was the first time she'd ever heard that. She was upset, and I said, well, "What'd you do?" And she said, "Well, I pushed her." And I said, "Okay, well, I understand that, right? But why did you drop to her level?" And so what I realized in that moment was that while she wasn't necessarily wrong and she could justify it, we can all justify anything, but she definitely wasn't right. She wasn't right of who a Meyer was. And so, but that was my fault because I had never given her the target she needed to hit. So I looked at her and I said, hey, your four things, everything that you do, your actions and decisions have to fit in this box going forward. And you have to be a leader. I expect you to be strong. I expect you to be kind. And I expect you to be respectful. And that is the outside perimeter of your box. And so now, whenever she comes in and she does an action and she tells me about this, I'm like, okay, well, no, you're not going to be and dictate who you are based off of other people and what they deserve. You're going to be who you want to be and set out to be every day. So I looked at her and I said, so what could you have done different to fit in the box, because that's not a leader. It's not strong to push her. It's not kind, and it's not respectful, right? Like none of that fits in there. And so she's like, well, I could have told her that, hey, if you don't do this, if you, that's not kind. And if you do that again, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Right. It didn't deserve or warrant you to hurt her, right. Or to push her. And so, I think that people going through life is we are so conditional upon, because think about this. If you always meet people where they're at, that's why we all drop down to that level. We need people. The only way to beat wrong and bad is with good.
Yeah, I love it. I love the box theory. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so this has been amazing discussion, but we come to the time, Dakota, where I have to ask you about your tactical treasure. What is your tactical treasure? You've shared so much, but is there something more you would share with us today?
Look, I think it's unconditional love. Like it's what true love really is. I learned this. That's what the Marine Corps taught me. The Marine Corps, the one aspect, look, my dad taught me accountability. My dad taught me leadership. My dad taught me resiliency. I mean, my dad taught me all those things. I think that war and the Marine Corps taught me what truly unconditional love is. And unconditional love is just doing what needs to be done for the greater good, with the intentions of helping people. When you look at the Medal of Honor, that medal doesn't represent a hero. It doesn't represent warrior. It doesn't represent heroism or a tactician. It doesn't represent a guy who could shoot good, a badass. It's none of those things. It is just a representation of the potential of every single person that has air in their lungs and a pulse walking this earth, that they have in them if they believe in a cause that's bigger than themselves and they love people so much that they're willing to stop their suffering, even if it's at the cost of their lives. That's all it is. It's really that simple. And so, when you ask me what is my tactical treasure is, I love people. I don't care where they come from. I don't care what they are doing. I couldn't care less anything other than the fact that I think there's only two types of people that walk the face of the planet: good and evil. And it's not necessarily their actions that show that, it's their intentions. And so I think there's only two types of people. And I think that if you get past that, if you think if there's any more types of people than that, then you're what I call a conditional human being. And I think that, I want to help people. And I love people with everything that I have, and they don't have to love me, right? Even the people that don't like me, the people that hate me, the people that it's not about what they do. It's not about what I get in return. It's about what I can do for them. And I live by this mantra: if you can, you must. And basically it's like the only way of life that I know is if you can help somebody, you must help somebody, because not everybody has the opportunity or the ability to help that person. Don't pass up somebody that you can't help that needs help. And, I'm a simple guy. I'm a Marine. I think I think life is simple. I think it's very, very, very simple. I just think that, it's just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, right? And a lot of times that I talk about Afghanistan, people are like, well, how do you talk about love when you've killed people and you've done things like that? And the hard part about love is that love is a choice, and love a lot of times is hard. Love is the hard, if done right, if love is done right, it's hard. It's hard. It's nasty sometimes. It doesn't feel good. It hurts, but it's worth it. And we need more true love in the
Right.
world today, loving people unconditionally.
I love it. That is a great, awesome tactical treasure.
Thank you.
My mantra: trust God and do
That's
good.
right. That's right. Trust God.
From Joyce Meyer.
Joyce is amazing.
She is. Um, okay, so any advice for fellow veterans struggling with transition post service?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Lincoln, like first off, enjoy the process. You know, if you don't everybody wants the view, but the only way in that nobody wants to climb. And the only way that life gets good is if you start to learn that really the enjoyment's in the climb. And you got to start respecting and appreciating it and enjoying getting better. I think, for those people struggling with transition out there, hey, go to hungerheroes.org, right? We got a lot of good tools. We got a lot of good things there. You can reach out to me, go to dakotameyer.com and send in a note, and I'll help you with what I can. I want to tell you this, the stakes are high today, and we need service members back as leaders inside their communities, because even though we might have served for 4, 8, 12, 20 years, the reality is that we will be civilians longer than we are ever service members, and we need to go back into society, and we need to integrate back in. And look, the stakes are high. America needs us more than ever, and they need us more in our own communities than they've ever needed us overseas right now. And I'm telling you, the only way that we fix this is by people who believe in the greater cause and who believe in good and believe in this country, going back and infusing that back as teachers, doctors, lawyers, as far as parents, as mothers and fathers, and all of that back in our communities. And that's what we need right now. And they're only people who are the most self-selected, best demographic of human beings that walk our planet are our men and women who have wore the uniform. And, I know a lot of times that it's portrayed to service members that, hey, once you take the uniform off, your service is done. And it's just
No, it's
absolutely not true, right? Like, the veteran is the second half of the commitment, because, when we take that oath, there is no conditions on the oath that we take. It's, when we join the military, the oath is taken forever. It's not a timeline on it. It doesn't say, we're going to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, as long as you're getting paid, as long as you're in the military, or for this length of time. It's forever. And we've still got to do that, right? I know this isn't popular right now, but this Daniel Penny, I'm so proud to say that me and him are United States Marines, because that's the epitome, of people feeling fear on that train. And you got it. You go back to Isaiah 6:8, send me. Daniel Penny, he was willing to put it all on the line for other people. That's the type of men and women who raise their right hand to put on the nation's cloth. That man right there. That is what the untapped potential, and we need more of that. We need more of that amongst our society, to be able to step up and have the courage to do what's right, even if it's not popular.
Well said.
Thank you. I think we should build a statue of that man.
I know. He was amazing, because it could have cost him everything.
It could have, but guess what?
In the
So
state of New York.
So could everything else. But guess what? You should have confidence in the system that the system still works, right? The system still works. Like, you know what? This is our judicial system. You know what? Due process. And guess what? Free man. Free man.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. Thank God. And I've heard little snippets of his interview with Janine from Fox News, Judge Janine, and he said he would have done it again.
Exactly, because he
would have done it again.
That's the type of men and women that wear our nation's cloth. Like, I mean, he is. You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of men and women that you get that choose to serve this country.
Right, you're right. They need to integrate back into our community, and
let's go.
And
let's go. Let's fix it.
That's awesome. Let's fix it. Dakota, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I know you're a very, very busy man. I feel so appreciative that you took the time to come on my podcast and share with our viewers and listeners all that you did. It was absolutely amazing. But before you go, tell us where people can find and connect with you. where they can find out more information on Own the Dash, purchase your books?
Yeah, everything like the one shop stop is dakotameyer.com, right? Go to dakotameyer.com.
Okay,
You can learn about dash strategies. You can find my Instagram, dakotameyer0317, like all the places wherever you connect, right? You can go to the one stop shop of dakotameyer.com and we can connect anyway. Like I love people. I love talking to people. I try to get to as many of them as I can. I'm not the type that like, I love talking to people. I love learning. I love keeping my finger on the pulse and getting involved and down the weeds. So yeah, go there, any of the books or anything like that, like whatever I can do. I love helping people. I love people.
that's awesome.
All
So do people really come and work out with you in your little
the time,
warehouse?
yeah. So I built this gym here, right? Yeah. So I built the gym here, and I was charging in the beginning, and I took it back because I was like, you know what? It's open to the public. It's open 24/7, and it's free, right? Show up. You can work out. You can do
That's
whatever. Yeah.
great.
And so yeah, anything to try to give back to the community.
That's great. I love it. Dakota, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you. And thank you for all your words of wisdom. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this exciting episode of Tactical Treasures. We've just finished up an amazing conversation with Dakota Meyer, who is a distinguished United States Marine, recognized for his valor in the war in Afghanistan and the recipient of the Medal of Honor. He is actually now a firefighter EMT, an entrepreneur, and an author. So he's written 3 books. The first book, Into the Fire, is a firsthand account of the most extraordinary battle in the Afghan war. The second book is The Way Forward, Master Life's Toughest Battles and Create Your Own Lasting Legacy. And the third book, which is most recent, is The Why to What, the one-word answer to taking back control of your life. He is also an entrepreneur. He is the founder Own the Dash, which is a lifestyle mantra created by Dakota based on his experiences as a Marine sniper, firefighter, helicopter pilot, and everyday dad. Dakota applies this mindset to everything he does to get the most out of every day, both physically and mentally. There are 2 dates on your tombstone: birth date and death date. What really matters is the dash in between. How will you choose to own the dash today? To learn more about Dakota, purchase his books, and also to book him as a keynote speaker, and to learn more about owning the dash, go to dakotameyer.com. Again, thank you for tuning in. You can find our Tactical Treasures podcast on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms, as well as Bet TV, American Grit, and our dedicated YouTube channel. We are now airing on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you missed that, be sure to join us for the encore on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again on another podcast real soon. Bye-bye now.